The new year is just 9 days old, and already here in the United States it is evident that the Trump administration now feels so confident in power that it is willing to lift the veil and be clear about precisely what it believes. Out is the rule of law. I don't need international law. That's an actual quote from the President of the United States in an interview with the New York Times this week. He says he will be guided only by his own morality. In is a bullying, militaristic, territorially expansionist America on the world stage, and domestically, as we've reported before in this slot, continuing moves to turn the country into a police state. In Minneapolis on Wednesday, it took just 5 seconds for the world to change. The killing of Renee Nicole Good, a 37-year-old motorist and mother of 3, shot dead in her vehicle just 7 seconds after masked ICE agents ordered her to get out of her car. It is the most shocking incident we have yet seen of trigger-happy violence by President Trump's thugs, who are sweeping suspected illegal immigrants and many other people off America's streets. Ms. Good, of course, was a US citizen who may, although it is still unclear, have been engaged in her constitutionally protected right to protest against ICE's brutal operations. Did she deliberately block the road to stop ICE vehicles from pursuing their quarry? Or was she actually about to engage in a U-turn to get out of the way? We will never know, because the Trump administration has already decided that despite any evidence to back up their claims, she was a domestic terrorist, a woman so dangerous that moments after her shooting, and to the eternal shame of the country, an effort even to offer medical assistance at the scene was denied by Trump's armed and masked men.
Can I go check a pulse?
No! Back up! Now!
I'm a physician!
I don't care.
We understand. We got EMS coming. I get it. Just give us a second.
We have medics on scene. We have our own medics.
Where are they? Where are they?
I don't care, that ICE agent told a physician whose offer to provide Ms. Good with emergency medical assistance was rejected. As for the claim that ICE has its own medics, there is no indication that any were at the scene. The first ambulance didn't arrive until 15 minutes after the shooting, and later claims that the ICE agent who fired the fatal bullets was himself almost killed by Ms. Good's car are entirely dispelled by the video, which shows him calmly walking away from where he fired the kill shot. But in America today, there's no time for any kind of calm inquiry, certainly not one that might lead the ICE agent to face murder charges. President Trump instantly deemed Ms. Good a professional agitator. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, a proven serial liar, called Ms. Good a domestic terrorist. And Vice President J.D. Vance went even further in a venomous rant from the White House podium yesterday. Here he is at length, and I would encourage you to watch his entire press briefing to understand how close to fascism this country is now sailing.
I was actually walking out here. Somebody sent me a photo of a CNN headline about what happened in Minneapolis. And this is the headline. I'm just going to read it. Outrage after ICE officer kills U.S. citizen in Minneapolis. Well, that's one way to put it, and that is the way that many people in the corporate media have put this attack over the last 24 hours. And I say attack very, very intentionally, because this was an attack on federal law enforcement. This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day. What that headline leaves out is the fact that that very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile? What that headline leaves out is that that woman was there to interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation in the United States of America. What that headline leaves out is that that woman is part of a broader left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job.
That woman, again, her name was Renee Nicole Good, and the vice president dragged it through the mire, accusing her without any evidence of being a member of a network of underground far-left radicals conspiring against the government. He went so far as to claim her behaviour justified being shot. So now the whole country is on notice about the green light given to the activities of ICE and the Border Patrol. They can do anything with complete impunity. The mayor of Minneapolis, Democrat Jacob Frey, was incandescent over his constituents' killing.
But I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite.
But ICE is going nowhere. More than 100 additional agents are being sent to Minneapolis by the White House, and the investigation into Wednesday's killing is being conducted only by the FBI. A cover-up is in the works, with the vice president heaping praise on the killer officer and saying Ms. Good got what she deserved.
You have a woman who aimed her car at a law enforcement officer and pressed on the accelerator. Nobody debates that. I can believe that her death is a tragedy, while also recognizing that it's a tragedy of her own making and a tragedy of the far left who has marshaled an entire movement, a lunatic fringe, against our law enforcement officers.
By the way, the Vice President had a visitor yesterday, Justice Secretary David Lammy, who appears to have made no representations at all about the slaying of Ms. Good in Minneapolis. But amid all the AI-manufactured underage porn on X these days, we learnt from Mr. Lammy's account on Elon Musk's platform that he made a speech at Mount Vernon, George Washington's home, celebrating the special relationship between the US and the UK, and expressing, and I am not making this up, the British government's belief that the US will continue to lead the free world and the values that have shaped it. So, let's see how that's going.
This is an ABC News special report.
At this hour, ousted Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, First Lady Celia Flores, are in federal court right here in New York City to face narco-terrorism conspiracy charges. We watched earlier this morning as they arrived at the federal courthouse under heavy guard. This was just before 8 a.m. this morning. They were driven from the Federal Detention Center in Brooklyn to a waiting helicopter. Then they were flown across the East River right into Manhattan.
The capture last weekend of Venezuelan strongman Nicolas Maduro is one of the most audacious military adventures ever orchestrated by an American president. It was also plainly illegal. The president himself acknowledged it was an assault on Venezuela's sovereignty, but now we know he doesn't believe in international law, so there will at least never be another reason for the Prime Minister to delay before weighing in on the Trump administration's conduct. What we also know is that Trump now believes the whole of Latin America is uniquely America's sphere of influence, an argument voiced vehemently this week by Trump's ambassador to the United Nations, Mike Waltz.
This is the Western Hemisphere. This is where we live. And we're not going to allow the Western Hemisphere to be used as a base of operation for our nation's adversaries and competitors and rivals.
By Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
We are not going to be able to allow in our hemisphere a country that becomes a crossroads for the activities of all of our adversaries around the world.
And by the organ grinder himself.
Under our new national security strategy, American dominance in the Western Hemisphere will never be questioned again.
Maduro's regime, of course, was left in place. The US is not calling for fresh elections, not demanding that opposition leaders be allowed back into the country. It doesn't seem to have any interest in establishing democracy in Venezuela, but does want indefinitely to control all of the country's oil. Last night, President Trump told Sean Hannity on Fox News that if opposition leader Maria Corina Machado wants to return to her homeland, she needs to give him her Nobel Peace Prize.
Do you have any plans to meet with her? And would you accept the Nobel Prize she wants to hand to you?
Well, I understand she's coming in next week sometime. And I look forward to saying hello to her. And I've heard that she wants to do that. That would be a great honor. I did put out 8 wars.
And then he was off with more of that nonsense. In the White House version of its new world order, Greenland is in the Western Hemisphere, and even military options are on the table to seize it from Denmark. Stephen Miller, the President's Deputy White House Chief of Staff and Chief Ideologue, with breathtaking claims this week on CNN.
Greenland should be part of the United States. By what right does Denmark assert control over Greenland? What is the basis of their territorial claim? What is their basis of having Greenland as a colony of Denmark? The United States is the power of NATO. For the United States to secure the Arctic region, to protect and defend NATO and NATO interests, obviously Greenland should be part of the United States.
They are deadly serious about it. Talks next week with the Danish government are going to be very high stakes, not just for Greenlanders, but for the future of NATO itself. And more broadly here, with Trump now completely unconstrained and emboldened, he even said the quiet stuff out loud this week about the possibility that he will cancel the midterm elections in November if he thinks Republicans are going to lose them. In a meandering appearance before his party's lawmakers on Capitol Hill, he offered this window into what's on his mind about this year's tussle with the Democrats.
They had the worst policy. We have to even run against these people. Now, I won't say cancel the election. They should cancel the election because the fake news will say, he wants the elections canceled. He's a dictator. They always call me a dictator. Nobody's worse than Obama and the people that surrounded Biden.
Watch this space if he thinks the Democrats are going to win control of the House of Representatives, setting the stage for him to be impeached all over again. He will come back to that idea. It is percolating away inside the head of a man who told the New York Times this week that my own morality, my own mind, is the only thing that can stop me.